Now it is a best of 5. Oh, they both chose blue again. Bottom left for Psystorm, it is MaxPax. In the top right, as the teal Terran, he is Team Liquid's Clem. Even though he is the cutest little clan tag. I legitimately can't think of the last time I've heard someone say, like, I'm proud of you. Which I think is fine, by the way. Just to be clear, I'm not actually thinking that it's important to your life. Because I think the sentiment is displayed in a lot of other ways a lot of the time. Like, I think if I've ever told a friend, like, I got this job that I really wanted and I really worked hard for, you know, the response wouldn't be, I'm proud of you. Neither would my parents, and I think that's fine. They'd just be like, it's amazing, awesome. Are you looking forward to it? Like, you know, something like that. So maybe I've already failed as a parent, you know? This tweet was trying to make you an even better parent, but I didn't even like check off the first box. You know what I mean? Just gonna be a terrible aunt to my nephew. They're gonna grow up having never heard I'm proud of you. They've showed me, you know, dozens of report cards, and every time I'm like, that's so awesome. You're so great at this. But I've never said I'm proud of you. My nephew's gonna grow up in 20 years, go to a therapist, and be like, my aunt just never said that she was proud of me. Just really hurts. God, I've already failed. Imagine being the aunt that gets into a philosophical discussion, though. It's like, I am really proud of myself, actually. I thought I really did a great job. Well, should you be proud of yourself? Is pride a sin? And if it is in only the most extreme cases, what is an extreme case of pride? No way. What's happening in this TvP so far? What next expand actually from Clem? Feels like I've been seeing so many factory expands. Not this time. As I noted while we were waiting for the lobby, these two are at an interesting point in their history together. MaxPax has won the last 3 best of 5s they've played, all in the finals of the Open Cup, like we see right here, right now. And every single time, it has been MaxPax favored, 3-2. Big change up from MaxPax 6 months ago. And I absolutely 100% believe, I think this is a fact, not an opinion, that it actually comes down to MaxPax divvying up his builds, not trying to kind of shoehorn a DT drop / 4-gate blink build into being both quite dedicated and macro potential. Just didn't really work out. That was not supposed to happen, by the way. We just witnessed an adept go into the main base for really no good reason. That's actually quite interesting. Which means that MaxPax would have seen the not starport, which he should have picked up on. Reactor on that factory really only means one thing, maybe not. Maybe it could be Wood of Mines, I suppose. But either way, it's going to be a drop. And most likely is going to be Hellions. So MaxPax should be totally aware of this. Already prepared for it, actually. Main base shield battery. Nationals have a shield battery, though. And Clem managed to pick the exact right spot, start doing some actual damage. Oh, he bamboozled me. Almost went back to the main, decided not to, goes to the natural, gets one more probe, but now down to 2 Hellions, no longer 1-shots. Which is exceptionally bad, because the shield battery's there to stop any 2-shots from really happening. So this was a disaster opening from Clem, but it's not a 1-base build. So a 1-base would have been straight up disaster for the entire game. GG next, maybe. But it is a 2-base Hellion drop that really did not do enough damage to warrant the production of the units, the proxied starport, and the delay on production of other units, I guess. Doesn't mean he's dead. Does not mean he's dead, not at all. It is a 3-gate from MaxPax, which means that he has the opportunity to go across the map should he want to in MaxPax. So of course he wants to. Oh, of course. There's a world where he doesn't take maybe any damage, he doesn't bother proning out a War Prism, and he just gets to third base, and then it's like, yeah, fair enough. But 3 gates, potential, still there for a dedicated stalker push. And MaxPax just took care of some harassing units, knows that any actual more viable units, like a tank, would not be plentiful. Only one will not cut it as he immediately bops it. Second tank pops out, but is it going to be... Oh, wait, there's another tank. Wait a minute. Wow, I underestimated the amount of tanks. All right, that's actually not too bad then, actually. Actually, it's not that bad. If it was only 1 tank and a 1 tank, I'd be very scared for Clem, but no, that's really not that bad. 3 stalkers go down. It looked scarier than it actually was. 3 SCVs went down and 3 Marines went down, and the bunker, of course, died alongside the tank. But that's, yeah, it was way scarier visually than it was in actuality. And MaxPax really needs to get going on his macro then. So he dedicated quite a bit to these units. And they have not done as much damage as they coulda, shoulda, woulda. Hmm. 7 SCVs have gone down in total from, I guess, the stalker attack. It just was a minute long, not only 15 seconds. So 10 in total. I don't know, though. I don't know. That's, again, it looks so much scarier. So many stalkers were warped in. That tank got obliterated. The bunker was gone. But because there were 2 tanks, they were able to reposition, not just the single one. Because there was a decent amount of Marine production. MaxPax kind of needs to get enough damage to be worthy, have the stalkers be worthy of being warped in. I'm not sure he actually did. It was directly why his third base was not as fast as it could have been. Same with his forge, and even his charge, I think. Well, charge is not usually all that expensive. So MaxPax certainly needs to buy more time. I think Clem is very much thinking that there is a timing to be had here. He's got 3 tanks. He's got his medevacs about to pop out. Some combat shields are not at all delayed with that push. And he scans at third base and doesn't see actually a whole lot, to be honest. Doesn't see the army. Doesn't see... Well, he does see that there's no gases, which might... I don't know if it's important for right here, right now. But does... lend itself, I guess, to the idea that it's probably more just like gateway based, not quick into storm, for instance. But like I said, I'm not sure it matters right here, right now, whether it was storm or not, because I don't think storm would have been done. And well, the charge lot numbers actually were not that high. MaxPax did not build up a good enough army behind the aggression that, again, I don't think did enough to be worthy of the stalkers. And now this defense is all over the place. Yeah, he's just gonna lose, actually. That actually is it. I think a Warp Prism was sent across the map, or is that... Oh, yeah, there it is. So a Warp Prism was sent across the map, did a couple of SCVs worth of damage, but really not enough to make up for the almost complete loss of army on MaxPax's front line. And Clem is going to temporarily leave. That's fair enough, but... Yeah, it might be okay looking on the economy. 10 workers ahead for the Protoss. That's okay, right? Nah, not really, since his army has been reset and he's not building up to anything that is high quality, like a Colossus. Pretty much would have been the only thing that would have made up, I think, for the current situation. Because 3 base to 3 base when you're going into Mass Gateway is really not enough for the Protoss player. They're going to be overwhelmed by how effective Bio is with medevacs. And ideally for them, they would have had either higher technology or they just would have had more units, which is extremely hard to do when you're limited on income. So I do think that MaxPax going for higher technology, going for the robotics bay, while trying to buy some time with the Warp Prism harassment is the best option for him. But he loses the Warp Prism, loses all that scare that he was applying to Clem, I guess. Fear. He was applying fear. It works. Don't worry about it. You lost the scare tactic of the Warp Prism. There you go. And now MaxPax. Gotta hope that some Zealots run by and do some more damage. Distract a little bit more. Because he's still not ready to handle a full-on attack from the bio. 1-1 done on these bad boys as well. MaxPax has built up a decent bio army, and he really, I think, does well against this particular attack. Widowmines didn't get any shots off, so that was primarily what was missing. Clem's Widowmines. Temp probe just went down to something. Widowmine dropping to third base. Fourth CC looks to be canceled. Clem probably at his weakest right here, right now. Having taken a kind of a bad attack around MaxPax's fourth, but by weakest, I do not mean actually in danger. I don't think he has been. So this is simply getting the reinforcements together, pulling the SCVs away from a couple of zealots, going for a run by, and then there you have it. Clem takes, again, a supply lead, at an economic lead as well. He's about to lose out on his strict upgrade lead, I suppose, 2-1-1. But he is winning on the army compositions. First Colossus is out. That'll add something to MaxPax's defense. And if you get to a second one, well, maybe we got a stew going. And I think Clem was only weak because this attack was really not that great. This is what Amon should have been burrowed and pulled back into. It would have been a lot more complicated for MaxPax to handle. And Clem might not be totally rolling over MaxPax right here, right now. I do believe he will in a minute. Literally a minute. Vikings are on the way. Ghosts are going to be added. 4th CC is being rebuilt successfully. During that time, that Clem built up a really, really good Terran army. He can be doing these drops. Oh, actually not really a drop. It's turning into a main engagement. I'm not sure he's quite ready to go yet. All those important units like the Ghost, the Vikings are on his side of the map. And he is going to think so as well, so he just pulls back. But he pulls back with most of his army intact. He will, again, have those units eventually in play. And it'll be very difficult for MaxPax to hold on. Especially if he doesn't have a shield battery. Hopefully he fixes that on the third base. Fourth command center is not interplanetary, only just floated over, so some zealot harassment's going to keep Clem on his side of the map. And there is Clem perfecting at least his army composition. What he is currently missing out on are upgrades. He did get a second engineering bay and an armory, but just didn't have the economy to afford literally everything on the production tab quite yet, so now he's getting that +2 attack at the very least. I will say that MaxPax has done a great job stabilizing. I would still say that Clem is in the driving seat more so, but since MaxPax was able to get a 4th base up and running, uncontested actually, that is a pretty freaking important detail. This counterattack here, yeah, I don't think it was going to ever kill Clem, but I think maybe most importantly from it, it created space. MaxPax could get up to his Colossus, could have 4 bases up and running, and a Widowmine drop wasn't quite enough to stop his economy from at least being decent enough, right? And now a drop here also doesn't really dig into the economy all that much. In fact, it is the Zealot run by currently doing more damage. Clem takes maybe more of an awkward fight in the middle of the map than he was hoping, but now that he's got a bit of a concave, perhaps, not even a concave really, not the best one, just a matter of Marauders. The DPS here from MaxPax's army is not enough. Marauders, chonky boys, especially when they're protected by Medivacs. So MaxPax has to be very, very careful. Looks like it's been a bit of a trade on the worker kills, but in a situation where Clem, of course, has mules, that's a Terran player, and just has some of the better opportunities to take at engagements. It is worrying that MaxPax has not moved on from 1 robo, 1 forge. He's moving on to a 5th base. Again, kudos to the keeping the economy stable, but oh, that bio, it showed its prowess in the previous engagements. Now the Zealots do provide a little bit more of that buffer, but here we're coming in with a bigger concave. MaxPax, actually, he's gonna win this game, GG. Clem, probably not supposed to protect his 5th base at that exact time, but not even a 5th base, it was just the location of the 5th base. Probably could have just canceled that one, canceled that idea, and then just moved back onto the high ground, waited for more reinforcements, and I think he would have been okay. GG though. G freaking G. MaxPax was in a precarious position, an especially precarious position, when his 3-base defense did not go very well.
Twitch Prime sub received. Thank you for
Full Metal
appeasing
Doge,
the
thank you for the
overmind.
Prime sub. But MaxPax did a really great job stabilizing, giving himself just stable enough of an army.
Twitch Prime sub received. Thank you for appeasing the overmind.
And thank you, Artanis XP1, for that Prime sub. Alright, despite all of the trials and tribulations in the top right, up 1, it is MaxPax. Top left, we got Clem.
Thank you for becoming
So many
a
more
member.
options to that fight than what we saw displayed there. If he had just had the high ground concave, not only does he have a few more units, I think, to fall back to, some reinforcements join on the fray, but I think he also is more capable of handling Zealots than Stalker Colossus, which is a really important dynamic that I think is often overlooked because, one, other flashier things are happening, but also, two, professional Protoss players do a really great job of not meeting the end-all be-all. Thank you, Scoutsy Justice, for a gifted sub. Everyone coming at once. So, if you've ever played Protoss against Terran, and a Terran who has an appropriate number of Marauders and Medevacs is basically the special ingredients there. Marines, whatever. But Marauders and Medevacs, and you have gone Blink Colossus, you could probably think back to a couple of games where you were desperately trying to chase down this damned Terran player, and then they took out your frontline Zealots, whatever you did manage to build, and then your Colossus Stalker army gets shredded. Absolutely shredded. Zealots die, Terran takes a concave, Colossus and Stalkers can't kill these units fast enough. And that is what really flips the script for battles with an army like MaxPax's in that final engagement. If his Zealots weren't actually buffering while his Colossus and Stalkers were attacking, if they didn't get some of their own shots as well, many of them actually charged into the army and were actually hacking away at the units, it's a very different dynamic indeed. And just the instant contrast I can point to in a game, that game, is the previous battle. The one that was more in the middle of the map, the one that MaxPax was almost over-dedicating to. Where Clem's Marauders were able to push forward, a little bit of that sweet micro to push one Marauder forward, tank more of the damage, that type of thing was happening. We saw that that was very close to going poorly for MaxPax. But then just 30 seconds, 40 seconds later, add in a couple of Zealots, add in the actual standing of the ground of Terran, so that Colossus can beam as much damage as possible. Suddenly you have MaxPax winning the engagement, and more importantly, winning the game. Tricky stuff sometimes, but MaxPax handled, I think, a lot of tricky situations very, very well. I always figured that this kid would have one of the best PVTs if he ever just kind of adapted out of the early mid-game that he was displaying at one point. So he was going for, as I keep on saying, he would only choose like 2, maybe 3 builds, and they'd all be quite dedicated. He'd be figured out very easily, and then they wouldn't work because you really can't macro out of like a failed DT drop or a failed 4-gate blink. But I always thought that his late game was extremely scary. I think he abuses it in the best way possible. I'm not trying to judge, just abuses Protoss late game very well. And I do think that his crisis management and ultimately like the thinking man that MaxPax is, his understanding of what brings a Protoss back into a game, what is most important to what they need to defend, I think is really good. And it kind of starts even with his PvP, thinking of how well he was able to make one gate expand work seemingly better than everyone else. I really think that was displayed in the last game, because even though he won, I think he was really in a losing position for a long time. Let's see if he loses here. It is going to be a very aggressive one-base build from Clem, which MaxPax is going to have trouble scouting. So the fact that he has already got some defenses up and running is really important. He walled off at least as long as he possibly could to buy even a couple extra seconds. He got the shield battery in the main to help out against this Hellion drop, which it absolutely does, even though 3 Hellions one-shot. What they don't do is get perfect shots every single time. And Marines were eventually handled. The Hellions eventually handled. Medevac dies. 8 probes in total go down. Is that worth an entirely one base build from the Terran? I would say no. I would say you'd want more, at least 10 plus, although we're getting kind of close, right? 8, 9 probes now. But I'd say even 15. I think that's when you start to feel really good about your opener. MaxPax is going to go into for Dark Shrine. Ah! Okay. Twilight Council was scouted from those Hellions, right? But Blink was on its way. Was it researching? Little thingies are like farther apart. I think it was researching. Anyways, I'm not sure that Clem picked up on the fact that it is going to be a Dark Shrine, right? Blink finished, so it's not like it was the fastest Dark Shrine anyways. So this kind of almost off timing of it could be effective anyways, regardless of scouting. Well, not regardless of scouting, but regardless of hints. There we go. So obviously if you scout the actual Dark Shrine, then more power to you, but a hint of a non-researching Twilight Council would still be kind of hard to read into. So MaxPax looking to get away with an easy game 2 victory to sending DTs into both main and natural. Might not get an instant GG, but it might do catastrophic damage. Initial Stalker push wasn't really all that great, but Warp Prism comes to save the day. Also, obviously able to provide the DTs in the front line. And also was able to scout that it is Cloaked Banshees, because in the same way that we have Cloaky Boys about to ruin Clem's day, Cloaky Gals could have ruined MaxPax's day. Just not expecting such a follow-up from a guy like Clem. Or really a lot of Terran players. Many Terran players not incorporating Banshees into TvP nowadays. So, all in all, I really like MaxPax's position. I really do. And oh my god, there is one scan. There's one scan available, but the damage is already being done. One DT should live from the scan. No, he gets around to the main. Okay, so 2 DTs for 1 scan. That would be pretty nice, but there's no second scan. And that's the real rub, isn't it? No tech lab on that starport anymore after the Banshees were created. It's so much damage. Although right now, most of it indirect. A lot of lost modding time. A lot of not doing something with Clem's current army. His Banshee's just trying to help defend, really, right now. And this one DT is just, oh my gosh. That's it. That is it. Yeah, GG. Yep. I think more DTs have just been warped into the main. No, I think that's what happened. GG. Ooh. Never understood the good luck have fun BM. I don't know what you're talking about. You cast a series of the pro that they're also playing. Would you have casting their own? What? Like they're playing and casting at the same time? I don't know. I love Roddy's attempt to have them not choose teal blue. I've never really been bothered by it as long as it's not a mirror matchup. But I understand some viewers don't really like it. Bottom left, it is the blue Protoss MaxPax. Top right of Waterfall. We get Clem as the teal Terran. So far, Clem, not doing so hot. Our first game was probably supposed to be his. Not in a lol, can't believe you threw this so hard way. But just the edges were good for him. He had a few edges, I think. The last game? Well, that was a little more one-sided right from the get-go. And Clem goes from, what, a 1-Rax expand to a 1-base Hellion drop. Certainly is trying something different, but it really did not work out. The Hellion drop itself maybe did enough to be okay. I feel like it wasn't, though. But even then, just the follow-up never even got to come in to play. It's like maybe the Hellions are like okay-ish, but then maybe the 2 Banshees are the big surprise. And even if you have an Observer available, it's the same problem as sometimes the DTs, which is that you're just not in position. You just don't know. So they still get 10 probes before you really get everything lined up to react. But instead, Clem's Hellion drop is meh. And then he was absolutely not prepared for DTs. Because they're a bit of an off timing. So he probably was even first and foremost worried about Bling Stalker drop. Bling Stalker push. Which was even further... There's further evidence that that would be the most concerning thing when a Warp Prism and 4 Bling Stalkers arrived into his main base. It's like, yep, figured you'd try and do that. I got you, though. I got a tank, got some SimCity. What's up? That wasn't actually the real issue. So now we have MaxPax adding on a fairly fast proxy pylon. Proxy gateway? Proxy robo? Proxy gateway, okay. I was like watching the gas very intently. So yeah, proxy gateway. Is he gonna proxy something else? No. I mean, leaving the probe in case it's scouted so you can place a second pylon. It's totally fair. And MaxPax does add on a second gateway back at home. So this is also going to help keep up appearances if Clem did get into... Well... No, it actually doesn't really keep up appearances. Never mind, I was thinking that a technology building was already built. No, it has not been. That's the whole point. So, right, if Clem got into the main base, there would be something missing. There would be a very, very late Twilight Council. So he would know that something was up. But so far, not allowed into the main base. Really does not have enough vision to know what's going on here. And he could be in a lot of trouble, because even though he has got everything that you would want against an early aggressive gateway push, again, the mental behind it, the way that you have everything lined up in your head is very important. So now he sees adepts coming in from the left. That's a little bit weird, right? They're going to shade on past. A tank pops out in the main. Really key to know that this was a tank first. No Hellion, no Woodamine, no Cyclone. Tank first. So that might be something that MaxPax was not expecting. He might have been hoping that it was going to be a good old-fashioned Woodamine drop, in which case 1 Woodamine could have been avoided, / 1 Adept sacrifice might be worth it. But a tank sitting on the high ground, constantly shelling away, very, very different story. So the Adept's really not worth it. 3 Adepts for 4 SCVs, certainly not. And MaxPax has just delayed his Twilight Council by a fair bit, too. Gateway, and then another Gateway, then Twilight Council. For ultimately... not much. Technically not nothing. Huh, this is not exactly what I was expecting, though, from Clem. Well, I guess it makes sense with his early tank, actually. So never mind. And maybe Clem also was read into by MaxPax, far faster than my slow brain worked. MaxPax, oh, didn't realize tanks were going to be sieged up, though. So seeing that it is a tank first, and nothing else, again, might go ahead and hint towards a tank push. Hell, perhaps even something like a combat shields tank push. So MaxPax was pretty eager to get those stalkers out in the map. Slow down the push, pick off Marines. Without Blink, it's very difficult to tackle any of these tanks. With Blink, still pretty difficult. Needs more units. Three more stalkers and an immortal should maybe do the trick. 1 stalker was warped over here. Gonna interrupt some reinforcements. Immortal Pleth. Build faster. Ooh, apparently you can hop up over to that north side. Coming in from a different angle. Might not be what Clem expects. Oh boy. Old Galley G broken. And even though that wasn't a true punish there, I mean, it's not like Clem just got obliterated. It still is, it bodes poorly for Clem He knows that 2 directions are going to really mitigate the tank potential. And not to mention also take away any reinforcements, so he's going to be very careful with how he does this. MaxPax can be a little less careful, honestly. I really think that at this point he has held 100%. And it's just a matter of getting back onto the rest of the PVT. So getting into the pro production, transferring any oversaturation to his third base, getting to charge. His Stalkers go for a counterattack, though, which maybe was overzealous, but they jump into the main base. Tank goes down, recall is applied, but only 1 Stalker. Oof. Only 1 Stalker is going to survive. So, okay, maybe not the best use of the Stalkers. I think causing a lot of disruption was a great idea. Having them out on the map was kind of scary to Clem, who still didn't have stim, I believe, up until the very last second. And his marine numbers just weren't that high. You know, a tank, it's AI'd the wrong direction. 6 Stalkers take care of it. But dedicating into the main base, now knowing that you've got rid of most of your opponent's Stalkers, you know, Clem could be feeling a little bit happier about that. Now MaxPax needs to track another incoming push. He's got a Warp Prism. Gonna go for some Zealot warp into the main base. Charge is done. And he has left his other units, his non-Stalker units, back at home. Building up in numbers to tackle Clem's second push. And there's just a couple of Zealot warp-ins. Actually, current problem is the supply block. And the pylon is quickly on the way, but MaxPax got to be concerned about that. More Zealots on the way as well. Scans ahead, sees the army. It's a decent army, but there need to be more Zealots. I was looking around seeing if maybe they're coming from a different direction. They were not, so especially because they're coming in from one direction. Clem has got a real potential here. The Zealots in the main base did cause some damage, are causing a decent amount of damage. 12, 14 SCVs go down. Okay, that is pretty nice, making this very dedicated indeed. But MaxPax, he's got some time. He did just lose his Robo. He lost a shield battery that may have been able to impact this game. But he's not gotten his economy hurt yet. And he's going to try and make this a 2-direction break. Marines hurriedly running back. Oh, a 3-direction break. Zealots coming in from the north side as well. Immortals get right up on top of those tanks with the help of the Zealots. Tear them apart. Bunkers weren't even really utilized. And that is that. MaxPax getting even more dominance in his match against Clem. Is a 3-0 today. Finishing the EPT EU Open Cup just shy of 5 p.m. Very nicely done.